This is Louis Mumford's ideas regarding glass from the work Techniques in Civilization. And in a way, it's a kind of extension of Edmund Carpenter's stuff from Oh, What a Blow That Phantom Gave Me, because while Mumford's talking about glass, you can see that the transformations in technology that led to kind of unique emergences of media really altered culture and what it meant to be a person. Mumford asserts far more significant for civilization and culture than progress in the metallurgical arts up to the 18th century was the great advance in glass making. And it's kind of an interesting assertion. I'm not going to talk too much about that. I mean, what was more important, metal or glass, in terms of culture? Well, Mumford wants to say glass. So by the 12th century, glass of intense color was made, and the use of these glasses in the windows of new churches, admitting light, modifying it, transforming it, gave a somber brilliance that the most ornate carving and gold of the Baroque churches only feebly rival. And so the idea, if I might paraphrase Mumford's quote here, is that by the time the 12th century rolled around, and that's pre-Renaissance, and it's right at the tail end of the Dark Ages, really, uh, by the 12th century, the artisans had really mastered glass, the making of glass. The development of glass changed the aspect of indoor life, particularly in regions with long winters and cloudy days. And of course, I mean, that had to do with, two things: windows and the greenhouse, right? Windows and the greenhouse. And so, you really have to imagine what a structure without windows would be like. It would be dark, and perhaps it would be dank as well. There'd be moisture. I think, as Mumford's gonna talk further on, glass and the arts of hygiene and cleanliness, they went hand in hand. Glass helped put the world in a frame. It made it possible to see certain elements of reality more clearly, and it focused attention on a sharply defined field, namely that which was bounded by the frame. And I thought this was kind of interesting because what a frame implies is a kind of cutting out, or a sort of focused concentration on the world. What was the first change away from medieval symbolism? Mumford argues the medieval symbolism, right? And medieval, that was kind of, I guess I refer to it as the Dark Ages, but medieval is probably a better term, is that kind of era, um, moving up, those several hundred years, kind of perhaps like 800 AD up to about the 14th or 15th century, up to right around the Renaissance. All right, what was the first change away from medieval symbolism? The medieval symbolism dissolved and the world became a strangely different place as soon as one looked at it through glasses. The first change was affected by the use of the convex lens and spectacles. This corrected the flattening of the human lens due to age and the defect of farsightedness. Spectacles were in wide use by the 15th century, when with the invention of printing, a great need for them declared itself. And at the end of that century, the concave lens was introduced to correct nearsightedness. And so, with glasses, kind of, the kind of what the medieval era ended. Because you had a focus on literacy and reading, and then the dissemination of information that led to the Enlightenment. But the answer to the question is, what was the first change away from medieval symbolism? Uh, the lens and spectacles, glasses that went on people's faces. Well, when was the telescope discovered? The telescope was discovered in 1605 by Johann Lippersheim, right? Uh, And so by 1605, the ability to manipulate glass was what at such a skillful level that the telescope, and what did the telescope do as a media, right? It was an extension of the eye that allows you to see what, like 10, 20 times further than your eye could see. In the middle of the 17th century, Leeuwenhoek, the methodical merchant and experimenter, through employing a distinguished technique, became the world's first bacteriologist, right? So by the time the 17th century rolled around, um, the microscope was in use and people could see bacteria, because up before then it was just kind of crazy superstition. And so glass in this sense marked the sort of the beginning of medical science. And you really had a handle on the genesis of disease for the first time. The eye became the most respected organ. Again, this kind of coheres with "Oh What a Blow That Phantom Gave Me" by Edmund Carpenter, right? The eye becomes the superordinate sense. And the invention of glass had a lot to do with that, with like glasses, but it was also reading and literacy. But the eye became the most respected organ. So both by what it is and by what it does, glass is favorable to hygiene or cleanliness, sharper eyesight, a sharper interest in the external world, a sharper response to the clarified image. These characteristics went hand in hand with the widespread introduction of glass. Glass had a profound effect upon the development of what? Mumford asserts the development of the personality. It helped to alter the very concept of the self. And certainly, I mean, you could see this with glass and the mirror, being able to kind of see one's face, and reading and the individuation of pulling yourself away from the herd with reading, kind of inner and outer spatialities. So, I mean, glass as a medium really transformed what it meant to be a person, and altered really all aspects of culture. I mean, I think you could make the argument, if you wanted to, that glass was largely responsible for the Renaissance, right? Glass was largely responsible for the Renaissance.